Hey everyone, I'm Janos.
And I'm Fabio.
And today we're going to be doing a review of Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts.
Kipo is a short animated comedy series about a 13-year-old girl thrust into an post-apocalyptic world where she has to learn to make friends, learn to survive, and reunite with her father and the only home she's ever known.
The show was created by Radford Seachrist, I think is how you say it, and produced by Dreamworks and the South Korean animation studio, Studio Mir.
We're going to be breaking things down today by design, which is, character and background design, music, voice acting, plot, and then our final thoughts.
So yeah, let's dive right in.
Let's do it. Okay, so we're going to be talking about design first. Janos, what did you think about the design of the show?
I loved it. I mean, that's probably my favorite aspect of the show is just how good it looks. Number one, I love the character design. The style they chose is super cool. It's like vaguely reminiscent of anime, but with a more Western spin to it. Kipo, her character, looks awesome. Wolf looks great. Dave, Benson, they all look really good. The only character I'm not completely sold on is the pig.
Mandu.
I always forget his name. I want to say Mushu.
How did he get his name again? Like, I think she named him after a food.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be a Korean word for pork, I think.
Or was it for dumpling?
Dumpling? I could be talking out my ass.
Yeah,
but,
I'm not quite sure either.
Yeah, he's the only one who I'm not completely sold on.
Which again, I agree 100% with Janos. I think it's such like a minor complaint given how the rest of the show and all the other characters and backgrounds are just top notch. It's a delight. It's a feast of the eyes, especially during like some of the really, really fun fight scenes that they go through.
I think a perfect example of how nice the backgrounds look is, I think it was the first episode where Wolf and Kipo are sitting. It pans up and you see this beautiful purple to blue night sky, and they're pointing out the stars, and yeah, it just looks really good.
It really, really does. It's funny. I think the same studio also produced I think the 4th season you said of the Boondocks, as well as a couple seasons of Legend of Korra. And in a weird way, a lot of those inspirations kind of bleed into this show a lot. Especially like some of like the faces, like Wolf's character reminds me very much of Huey from the Boondocks, which is a phenomenal character. And definitely some of those like bigger fight scenes with like some of like the zanier looking characters remind me so much of Korra and having that anime kind of inspired feel.
So what did you think of the character designs? I knew immediately watching this that Fabio was gonna love Dave.
Dave, everything about Dave's character, both in terms of design, voice acting, and just his whole. Should we go into his something about his character? I don't know if
are we doing spoilers? I don't.
Ooh, maybe we shouldn't do spoilers. We actually didn't even discuss that.
Spoiler warning, this video is going to contain some spoilers for Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts, and if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely go do it before watching this video, because it's worth your time for sure.
But Dave's character is this bug that essentially goes through different life cycles at a really rapid pace. But one of his forms, he goes from being a child to a teenager to an adult, then to a very like hyper muscular version of himself, right to an old man. But the hyper version of himself, because Dave has performance anxiety, never really becomes a useful thing throughout most of the series. He's always cycling through different parts of his life, always at the most inopportune moments. And everything about his character just always makes me laugh and smile when he's on the screen. It's just a delight.
His old man form is probably my favorite.
So I guess one thing that's a good point to note is that as an overall, I did love the aesthetic look of most of the beasts that they've portrayed so far in season 1. What I can't say was like a negative thing, but what kind of bummed me out for the first 5 episodes is many of the characters or animals that were introduced were simply animals of our current, ecological nature, given the word mega in front of it and simply given an additional set of eyes or legs. It all looked pretty cool. It was all pretty fun. I had nothing against it, but after a while, it was like, oh, a mega creature? Oh, it's got new eyes? Oh, it's got another set of legs? That's okay. It wasn't really super novel. It was just okay.
Yeah, I mean, you knew what to expect after a while. But that said, I don't think it took away anything. It was still nice. I think that about wraps it up for design.
I think so. So let's go on to music next. What did you think of the soundtrack for Kipo?
Fantastic. Really, really good soundtrack. I was thoroughly impressed. And actually, it's worth noting that you can pull up the entire playlist on Spotify if you want to listen to it in your spare time.
After listening to most of the album just by itself for a couple hours, it holds up beautifully on its own, being a very, very fun album. You can tell, again, a lot of inspiration comes from the Boom Boom Docs, a lot of like the hip hop and rap vibes they bring to the show. But I think it really creates such a unique, fun experience, like especially during a lot of like the high octane, really, really fast paced fight scenes. Having that hip hop track in the background, like it makes things fun, it makes things energetic. It really brings a whole new vibe to the show that I don't see a lot in cartoons, which I loved in the for Kipo.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I'm at the gym, getting pumped.
Yeah. It makes me feel like, oh man, this is exciting. Especially like in episode 1 where they get on top of the dragonfly and the music kicks up. I'm like, oh man, I'm into this. Like, what's going on next? Like, it was shot for shot, it was really good with the music.
The theme song too is really good. It's nice and short, which I like. I don't really like when shows have like a full on big old
Crazy
theme song.
Yeah. It was just enough to kind of get you hyped for the show, but not like linger on too much. Where you're right, it's like a whole 2-minute long epic thing. Across the board, music and sound design was spot on.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I guess it's not technically music, but I liked how in the intros something always spelled out Kipo, and then it boom went right to the intro.
I did like that a lot too.
Yeah.
It kind of threw me off a little bit when they had the soda have Kipo's name on it.
Yeah.
Because I admit for the first part of the episode, I thought the soda was called Kipo. And
yeah,
I was
me
very
too.
confused, but that's just me being an idiot, I guess.
They took a few liberties with that for sure, but as an idea, I liked it. I thought it was a clever little.
It was super fun
thing to add for the intro.
Agreed. All right, voice acting. So across the board, I think every single person who was involved in the voice acting for the show, 10 out of 10, could not have been a more fun cast.
Yeah.
Me personally, I always, of course, have a soft spot for Steve Bloom, being the voice of Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop, as well as 400 different other video games and cartoons. I thought he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I had no problem with the voice acting at all. There was never a point that a line landed poorly and I was taken out of the moment. I don't know if anyone particularly shined through either, but I certainly had no problems with it.
Me personally, I think that my top 3 favorite was Michaela. I can't remember her last name, but she was the voice of Wolf, and I thought she did an incredible job of really bringing that character to life. I mean, playing the role of like a young adolescent girl with such a serious demeanor. I think she really captured that role in such a really fun, kind of interesting way. And then I think, of course, I think his name was Michael Woolley. Hope I'm not mispronouncing that name. Was the voice of the water bear character. Really made that character kind of fun and bubbly, but also kind of mysterious. Yeah, he brought it to life
for sure.
He really made that character come to life. I agree exactly. I loved it. But yeah, again, across the board, I think they could have not put a better cast together for that.
Also, it's worth mentioning Kipo's singing voice. Do you know who the actress is?
I think her last name is something Fukuhara.
Whoever's doing the singing voice for Kipo, beautiful voice, really
perfect,
really nice.
Yeah, I mean, I had nothing really bad to say in terms of voice acting. It was really just, perfect across the board.
Yeah,
all right. About it. Yeah, all right.
What's next?
Next is plot.
Tell
me about that plot, Janos.
So the plot was good. It was good, I would say. So we have Kipo. She emerges out of a what is that? Like a
burrow?
But she comes out of like a sewer or something.
Yeah.
Because of a flood, an underground flood, and she's thrust into the surface world where she has to learn how to survive and make it back to her father. It's a good story. It obviously creates tension immediately. Where what's she gonna do? How's she gonna get back?
How's she gonna survive?
It's also not like the most incredible plot I've ever heard. It does a great job as like a first season kind of thing to set the tone, set the world, introduce you to the characters. Yeah, as the plot, I enjoyed it immensely across the board. It was a really fun, enjoyable romp of an adventure. One of the things that I personally really liked, how in that first episode, you see Kipo, being thrust out of this aqueduct into the surface world, which she's never been a part of before, never even experienced it, and her being, lost, afraid, and confused about what to do. And then the first shot we get of this character, and the very last shot we get of Kipo is her, taking charge of this crazy double-headed flamingo beast and flying into her friends, being fully strong and capable. And it's like, hey, let's go save my dad. That was a really cool kind of, parallel to the first scene, her alone and afraid, and that last scene, her being, strong, capable, and in charge, and knowing what she's there to do, basically. That was a really cool. It was in those 10 episodes, it was really cool to see her, transform like that into a character. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't say she has the best arc of a character, but it's nice to see the transition between somebody who, was kind of incapable to someone who's perfectly capable on their own. So that was nice.
Yeah.
The bad guy, Scarlemagne, I didn't find his motive that convincing. His whole deal was basically, humans had subjugated animals before, whatever caused the apocalypse. So now humans deserve to be subjugated under animals. And
I feel like there's more there, though, because remember that scene between him and Dr. Oak, where Dr. Oak was just like, oh, by the way, was his name Hugo or something to the effect
something
of
like
Hugo?
that, yeah.
And clearly the two characters had a bit of a history and a backstory together, so
Right.
help explore that more to kind of give us more about why Scarlet Mane is doing what he's doing.
Right, because if there's like a personal motive behind it where he was mistreated by humans, personally, I kind of get that. But if he just
Woke up one day and it was like, you know what?
yeah.
I'm getting revenge on humans.
He wouldn't even have
been a
been
part of that whole
alive, like,
thing.
so he has
Yeah.
no personal connection to it. So I'm hoping that we get more in-depth explanation of his motive in the next season.
Another character that I hope, much like Scarlet Man, they kind of go more into detail about is Benson's background.
Yeah.
Because Benson was a really cool, fun character. I like what they did with him. They took a lot of, really, forward steps with his character by making him gay, which I thought was an awesome move. But he felt kind of strange as a character for me. Like Wolf, as a parallel to him, this young girl living in a post-apocalyptic world. She's a survivor. She's hardened by the world around her. Well, Benson seems very, happy-go-lucky and fun, which I think is totally fine. Like, I want to know more about, where Benson came from. How did he meet Dave? What has he been doing for the past?
Does he have a
years?
family? What happened to his family?
Yeah, exactly.
Was he an orphan? Like Wolf? I don't know. We don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
It was nice to get a look at Wolf's backstory, though. She had a really cool backstory.
Oh my gosh, Wolf! I think probably had my favorite.
But
story of the whole series.
I guess as a result of that, Benson was kind of lacking as a character because we didn't get to see anything about him. So hopefully they go into that in the next season. And yeah, do you want to talk about Wolf for a second? I know you really like her.
Oh gosh, yeah. I don't want to say too much, but Wolf's character as a whole, and especially what she went through with her backstory with being portrayed by the what are they called, the Newton Wolves?
Yeah.
At such a young age was a very heart-wrenching story, but explains so much about her character, about why the way she acts the way that she is, why she prefers to be alone, why she has that prejudice against mutes, especially Newton Wolves.
It was convincing.
It was convincing. It was a little bit dark. Actually, kind of took me for a turn that I wasn't expecting, but I was more than pleasantly surprised about that character move that she had there. I thought it was awesome. Really good storytelling.
Dave didn't have much depth at all as a character. He was definitely like the real comic relief. I think you didn't really get any kind of backstory to him. The only kind of backstory we got was that he's like 200 years old, which means he could have been alive before the apocalypse. Which is interesting. Maybe he was just a regular bug that got irradiated or something. I don't know if we know how the apocalypse was caused, but I'm guessing like nukes probably.
I think radiation's a pretty smart theory because, again, we kind of touched upon it earlier. Many of the animals and creatures you see in this world are slightly kind of weird changed versions of our current animals, like the mega bunnies in the first episode, for example. So I think like radiation makes perfect sense. And I think for season 1, Dave just simply being the comic relief character, I think that was okay. I think
It
that
worked because
totally
he was
fine.
interesting in of himself.
One of the big things that I know that we've been holding back talking about is Kipo's powers.
Right.
Which I thought was a huge, interesting curveball for myself. And an interesting point that Janos had made is that most shows like Ben 10, for example, a big part of that show is Ben getting the Omnitrix, and most shows in general really hammer home the creative powers or unique abilities that characters have. It's usually a big cornerstone of most shows.
Yeah.
But for Kipo, they kind of took us both for a surprise there. Well, now until episode 5 or so, did they start even only lightly insinuating that Kipo might have some sort of unique ability. Not sure if you want to go more into detail about what that ability may be.
Well, it was an interesting idea because, like you say, most times if a character has a power like that, it's boom, right in your face. Like they don't hold back telling you that at all. So in a way, it was kind of nice to have that be a surprise that they slowly introduced. I think it would have been good to have some kind of like breadcrumbs right in the beginning of the show.
Agreed.
Maybe like when she emerged from the aqueducts, just showing her having the pink jaguar eyes like she has, and then slowly fading away. Because she as a character wouldn't have noticed that, but we the audience would, and it would have been a kind of like, what's going on here moment. But it didn't bother me too much. It still hooked me, got me interested, which is at the end of the day all they really need to do.
Yeah. I think I kind of agree with you a lot, though. I wish I'd have had even like a small little nugget of something to kind of hint upon a later growth for later.
Yeah.
What I do like that for Kipo's character is that she was already, being faced with some adversity, with some challenges that she had to go through the first couple episodes, and then her kind of, powers kind of came to light. And especially with that last, minute in the episode of the season finale with her, being such a strong, capable character. I think what they were trying to go for is that, hey, Kipo, is becoming, it's coming of age story. She had turned 13. She doesn't need her powers to define her or her to be strong. I think that's kind of the line that they were trying to paint her in. But I agree, even like a small little flash of something in the first episode kind of helped build that continuity together a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you have any fan theories about her powers?
I don't really. My only theory, which is so basic, is just that her mom was actually part mute, because that was what was alluded to in her dream sequence because of the water bear. It's not a novel theory or anything. I just think it might make sense. Maybe her mom was born on the surface. She got irradiated at birth, and that altered her DNA. And then she was found by Kipo's father and brought into the burrow.
That's a good theory.
That's all I got.
I have a bit of a crazy theory. I think it's a little bit kind of far-fetched, but it's just where my mind took me.
It's fun, though.
Yeah, I noticed that in the later episode when Kipo was having that change with her arm, her father was quite normalized by that. He was just like, yeah, I know what's going on. And him being a professor, I had the idea that while he was, underground doing some research, his wife would go up above the surface world and was stealing DNA from various mutes, or creatures that were referred to as mutes. I'm not sure if he referenced that, from the surface world, and then somehow bit by bit imbuing that into their daughter, so that one day their daughter, Kipo, could be kind of a ambassador or kind of like a bridge between worlds, between the humans on the below and the mutes on the surface world. Bit of a crazy far-fetched idea. I'm not sure if they'll go anywhere with that, but
yeah, it's a little bit dark.
a little bit.
Splicing the DNA of your own daughter. I don't think they're gonna go that route, but I like where your head's at for sure.
I definitely hope it's something that's satisfying. I hope it's not as simply as just like, oh, we don't know
I
how
hope
this
it's
happened.
more your theory than mine, because mine is just so basic. Like,
But I definitely like how the powers are varied. Like, I noticed that at first we saw the whole eyes changing into the pink jaguar, as you mentioned, for night vision. Then we had more of like a slender arm for speed, and the last episode we had like a big bulky arm, clearly for power and such. It seems kind of like a Swiss Army knife of abilities, which really cool to see how they explore with that and how far down they're gonna go with exploring how her powers work.
do you think she's gonna turn full jaguar at some point?
I kind of hope so. I would love to see that.
It seems like it, right?
Yeah, it seems like a natural progression of how that would go, and how that would look is going to be super cool. So I'm very much excited for that.
Because clearly it's not just one side of her body, because when she gets the eyes, it's both of them. So, yeah. I'm guessing she's going to go full jaguar at some point.
That'd be awesome to see. I'd be all about that. I'd be very excited for that.
So what about the very ending?
The very ending. So what we have is we have Kipo finally getting reunited with her father. It's a very touching, beautiful moment. And then quickly, Scarlet Mane shows up with this army of humans and rips her father away from him. And then Kipo, was at some point almost getting captured herself, wrangles up one of the flamingo beasts herself, goes to her friends and say, hey, let's go save my father now. So it's kind of just extending most of the plot from what we had for the first season, but now the stakes are raised up a little bit more because now Scarlet Mane's clearly being a more active antagonist.
Yeah, I will say I thought it would have been a little bit more interesting if Kipo had also gotten captured, because like you say, it's going to be kind of a continuation of the first season where they're looking for Kipo's father, whereas if Kipo also got captured, it would be two subplots going on with Kipo and her father being captured and Wolf and the rest of them trying to go save Kipo, which I thought would have been a little more interesting, but it's not bad. It wasn't a bad ending.
Curious to see what happens next. Really curious, really excited for season 2. Really excited.
Absolutely.
All right, so final thoughts, Janos. 1 to 10, what would you give your score for Kipo?
So I give it a 9 out of 10. Like, I have complaints, but really that's just me nitpicking. That's me putting my critique hat on and coming up with reasons to not like it. At the end of the day, I really enjoyed it. I want to watch season 2. I'll probably rewatch the first season a couple times.
Yeah, me too.
I love the music. The art was phenomenal. One of the best looking shows I've seen in a while. The music was great. Voice acting, pretty much everything they nailed. The few nitpicks I have are not enough to take away from the experience. So solid 9 out of 10. That's where I'm at.
No, I couldn't agree more. 9 out of 10 across the board. If you were thinking about watching Kipo or you're not quite sure, a show that I would highly recommend. I mean, it's only 10 episodes. It's a show that's really easy and kind of light to pick up. So if you were thinking about watching or kind of unsure, definitely go check it out. I think you'd be very pleasantly surprised with the first couple episodes, and you'll find yourself getting hooked pretty quickly. Yeah. So guys, go check it out. Let us know what you think about it.
Yeah. Thanks guys so much for watching, and we appreciate the love.
Stay beautiful.
Bye.